The last time we talked about this, I didn't understand what this was for. I was asked, do we even do this without town meeting approving these things? Well, I've been informed that we can do this, and that these are just, well, David, you explain how we got to this.
Well, my understanding is that it goes back to the last several years that Lee Hartman and the Division of Planning and Development want to put into writing and get approved by Planning Board and the Zoning Board of Appeals a sort of definitive list of required documents to be submitted at the time of 40B. The document was actually prepared in May of 2021, and was brought to us about 6 weeks ago or 8 weeks ago, saying this really is housekeeping that gives more power and more authority to the planning board to scrutinize the 40B application and to defer it if it's incomplete. It gives more tools to allow, let the planning office do it when they scrutinize an application, to say it's incomplete, and we will not start considering it until it's a complete application. So if you've had a chance to read through it, Lee was hoping it was going to be sort of a quick discussion with that 6 or 8 weeks ago, and then, as Michael said, didn't quite understand exactly what was happening here. But that's what it is. It's a tightening up of the requirements that Plymouth will be looking for to declare a complete application.
But where does this document sit?
Well, it hasn't been approved by us yet.
No, but I mean, once it gets approved, is it in, under the planning department regulations? I mean, in other words, this doesn't go in the zoning board.
No, it goes in the application process.
Right, okay, that's what's, yeah.
They get a copy of this and they have to have every single thing in there. And it now puts it on paper. That, if you remember, we had quite a bit of trouble with Colony Place when that 40B first came, and they didn't have all of this stuff, and they were trying to be the timeline and do all of that stuff. And we went back and forth, and that probably cost us town $10,000 in lawyer's fees just to figure that one thing out. So maybe we can.
Oh, I had no problem with this. When we first got this, so I was saying, okay, but if it goes in the zoning bylaw, it has to go before town meeting.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was trying to figure out, so where is this document gonna be? So it's on file with our department.
Our department, it's one of our rules.
Right.
Yeah, it's a rule and regulation, just like our fees and our other,
Right.
document
And
submissions.
that doesn't have to go to town meeting. Our rules, we deal with.
Right,
Like we're doing
exactly,
right
yeah.
this minute.
So
But
it would be
we've given you a
we have
way.
a new town website, it would be on the zoning board of appeals page if that's what you're saying.
Well, it would also be in the rules and regulations for the planning department.
Yes.
So it would be in two locations?
Yes.
Or cross-reference, how.
Okay.
All right, so, I will entertain a motion to accept these regulations as part of our rules and regulations.
Is anybody
This is
seated?
what is this what town council is writing in now?
No.
And,
No.
oh, so seated previously was David, Mike Leary, Ed, Kevin, and Buster. That's what I have written.
So,
We're all here.
You're all there.
yeah. All right, so we'll ready to come.
Well, I'll make the motion to approve the draft zoning board of appeals comprehensive permit rules and regulations dated May 27th, 2021.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor? It's unanimous, but, oh, I should have asked, should Peter or Phil want to speak to this?
Well, Red it's good,
Okay,
it's been hanging around for a while. and we'll
Yeah.
get it in there.
all right, we've got just the minutes, and that's it?
Don't you have, potential
Oh,
discussion?
yes,
of
discussion
PACT
about
TV?
PACT TV. Because of the litigation that we're involved in with, some of the environmental people, it has been suggested, strongly suggested that we go back to being, televised. And the reason being that, and as I spoke to the videographer earlier this evening, PACT TVs, when they record this, you get a copy of it, it's an uneditable copy, you can't edit it, you can't do anything with it, okay, and it's time stamped from when they start to record until when they end, and no interruptions in between. And a couple of attorneys have told me that private videography is, yes, pretty good and reliable sometimes, but it can be edited by anybody at any time. And that can certainly change the outcome of what they're trying to portray. So, again, it was, and two of the selectmen have asked me if I was okay with, if this board was okay with being back on TV. So that's why we're having this discussion.
We never shut it down in the first place.
I know.
What is our doing?
I know, we got kicked out of the room. So this all comes back up because we're moved back into a room that's televised, and specifically because of the, litigation that's going through lately.
I think, town meeting, a couple other town meeting members have said, why aren't you being televised? We're in the dark, all these things going on, and town meeting members should know what's going on. And the fact that they're not, I think I think we should be televised, let the public more transparency, we're getting a bad rap, that's for sure. And, I think it's a very sound decision you're making, Buster.
Isn't some of the issue been PACT TV themselves, though?
I think
They didn't have enough people or
I
something?
think that's totally been the issue.
Yeah. Okay.
And, over the.
And yet you're saying it reflects badly on us, I got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
So, Phil? What are your thoughts?
I think we should be televised,
Okay.
PACT TV.
I agree.
I agree.
Michael?
I don't have a problem with it.
Right, and Peter, I'm assuming you're very well with it?
Fine.
Okay, Denise, would you contact David and?
Antoine.
Yes, it is. Would you contact David Antoine at PACT TV and have him put it on the schedule that on our meetings, they're televised?
Mr. Chair, if I could offer some comments on this, so
Yes.
I spoke with, the town manager and, the director of planning, and this isn't, that straightforward, so this is a budgetary constraint as well, so the town pays for so many meetings a year to be televised by PACT TV, so I do know they are working on that, but it's not, it by no means is any switch just gonna get turned on and this board start being televised.
Will we pay them?
Yeah, and so many meetings a year total for the town, so
Mhm.
for all the boards, so I do think they're working on working that in, and there's some conversation at the town manager's office of finding space for that, but it's not just gonna get turned on overnight.
Thanks.
Okay, I'll follow up.
Yeah, for what it's worth, I don't control it.
I know a couple of people that.
Well, our vote should still stand, so we want.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It sounds unanimous.
Right.
All seven.
All right, so, we have discussed PACT TV, and it's unanimous that this board, has requested requested to be televised. Is there, oh, now we can do the minutes.
But before minutes, do we wanna talk about the
Nah.
KP law memo and exactly what it refers to? I think that's what Ed was saying.
I think it's more of a broader stroke, and there's two litigations going on right now about marijuana. One is in the town of Salem, and how their bylaws contradict state law. And how the home rule petition, or home rule petition works, is that state law
Supersedes.
yeah, supersedes, and so the idea of the zoning bylaw is to be in addition to the state law, not contradict. And so, one of these things about this 40B that was just approved by me, one of my concerns is it doesn't contradict state law, it doesn't, we're just trying to say what we wanna have in front of us, so that's why it's fine. But this memo goes, is like, it hones in on it, but the broad stroke is still there. We can do whatever we want at this town, as long as it doesn't contradict state law.
Well, that's been, and this is pointed to you and I's discussion about, the parking and, which one was it that I wanted to do something and you said, oh,
Title V.
I'm not familiar with the memo that you're reading.
we're
so-
reading KP Law's, letter,
You,
yeah, it's actually to me, but I think everybody got it.
Yeah, if that might be, is that citing 780 CMR and Title V and Fire Code? Yeah, so it's basically, Mr. Conroy is right, it paints a broad brush, but the reality is this concept we've been talking about, discussing back and forth when a certain type of septic system comes up, a fire sprinkler system, something covered under the building code, solar panels, EV charging stations, all that stuff that's controlled under another state authority, so, isn't under any control of this board at that point.
So let me ask you a question. And this goes to charging stations.
Correct.
If we put a condition on one of our cases that in order for them to build that building, they have to put charging stations in, you say that that's not enforceable,
It's preempted by the building code.
and you say it is enforceable.
No, I'm saying if the building code is a state law.
Mm-hmm. So, and the building code says that they're
So that
legal.
wins.
So why can't we say if they're legal and there's a place in the building code that says they have to be installed in a certain way and so on and so forth, and they're all covered by that, then why can't this board, as Ed says, we have power, why can't this board say, okay, you're here for something, and in order to build that project, we also want you to do this, or you can't build that project. Now, what say you to that?
That's what preemption is. So the state law does not give you the authority to do that. It is entirely under the control of the building code. And what I mean by that is a sprinkler system. So a sprinkler system is a function of the building code or the fire code, depending on the situation. The state has decided that they are the ones who decide when it's safe and not safe to put a sprinkler system in, not local ordinance.
And, but
So,
what if,
That's important.
what if we say to we've got them in here, and already they're outside of the ability to do the project. They're beyond that, so they're here for relief. And in order to give them that relief, we say, okay, but the building code says that these things are legal, we want them put in.
Yeah, I think we're talking the contradiction most of the time when this issue comes up is when
And they agreed,
one of the state codes does not.
they agreed to do it.
Yeah, that's how preemption works, so the state law is the authority, so you don't have the ability to supersede state law.
We're
So
not superseding.
Yes, and most times you are, you don't have the ability to make state law more stringent.
We're not doing any of that, we're saying the building code says that these things have to be done in a certain way.
Yeah.
We ask you to put them in, please.
It's irrelevant, it's still a moot point. If the building code requires it, it's up, the board has
No,
no
it's
say.
not.
No, I disagree, because if you say building code preempts, that means everybody would have to put in a charging station in their house,
No,
border to border,
not at all.
because.
That's
Make
what
up
I'm
your
saying.
mind.
What I'm telling you is the building code tells you what uses, what buildings and structures that you have to put, be solar ready or EV ready, or have put those stations in. They dictate when you have to do it. It's under the authority of the state, not local authority.
But if we get them to agree to do it,
It's preempted. Unfortunately, it's
I
the passion for
disagree.
people. And that's okay, but I'm telling you, it's preempted.
well, I don't care, I'm gonna do it anyway, and we'll fight about it.
That's
You,
okay.
you get us to just to agree by arm twisting, is that what you're saying?
And that's exactly what happens, you know, but same thing, we have a case coming up that the fire department, has authority to put a sprinkler system in a single family house at this point. And mind you, it's another case, but it's entirely outside the zoning board's authority. And then furthermore, it's at,
Well, then what the hell do we need a zoning board for? We anoint a king, and there you go, you go take care of all of it.
Wait a minute, we don't really know.
so the your zoning ordinances are for the ordinances that are written that the town adopted. Once you get into the building code, it's outside your authority, it's that simple.
In fairness to him, to Nick, we've gone through this before, long before he was there. I mean, Paul said to us before, or somebody, so the planning board said, we want a single family home to have a sprinkler system.
And we have always said
They
no.
were on a well, and then we were told, no, you can't make them do that.
But Peter, we have also said to people, would you consider doing this, that, or another thing, and they say yes.
That's
And
what I
it
said, I
becomes
was-
a condition.
You also have to put that in context, respectively. So when we ask somebody that in front of, in an open meeting, and it's not disclosed to them that it's not gonna have any bearing on your decision, it automatically puts them in a position where they feel compelled they have to do it, or you're gonna tell them no. That's the reality of what's going on here.
I don't know.
Just like the solar panels,
But,
Hey, would you consider putting solar on? You see a little pushback from people because they're feeling you out, because they're afraid if you're gonna tell them no to their project if they say no to solar, when they don't actually have to do it. That's the reality.
Sometimes, Nick, we just put that in the factual
Yeah,
information,
understood.
right?
Yeah.
The applicant is considering solar panels or something.
But that's the reality of what's going on here. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, you can ask the applicant.
let's get on to the
Yeah, you're
minutes.
turning red here, let's relax a little bit. Yeah, let's get on, we gotta get out of here.
Yeah.
We wanna see the last few minutes of the Celtics game. They are,
March
the game's tied
the
with 5 minutes.
6th. Pardon me?
Tie game with 5 minutes. It's been going that way.
All right, I have read all of these and I don't see any problems in any of them. Anybody have any problems? Go right ahead.
No, I'd just say on the meeting of, March 20th and April 3rd, I abstained. In terms of the approval, because I noted they're correct that I was absent.
And I will abstain on the 3rd because I was not.
And March the 6th, are you happy with that? Anybody have any?
Yeah, good rules.
Yes.
I don't see a wrong with
All right, all in favor of March 6th? All right, now, March the 20th. And we got it, I didn't see anything.
Well written, well done, so, you caught me up, but I abstained on that vote, that's all.
Okay. And April the 8th, everybody happy with March 20th?
Yep.
All those in favor? Okay. And April the 3rd.
Fine.
And I thought that everything on that was fine too. Everybody happy with April the 3rd?
Yeah, I'll abstain.
Okay. All those in favor? I entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I